Hi there, welcome to Subpar Stitches. My name is Hillary and this is my Flosstube channel. The last video I posted was 2 weeks ago, but I had filmed that one on like March 13th or something like that. So this video might be a little bit long because I am talking about everything since March 13th and it is now May 2nd. But now I'm back on track of my every 2 week schedule. Everything's, squared away now. So hopefully this video doesn't get out of control in length. I'll try to keep it concise, which I'm not good at. So if you're new here, I do timestamp everything down below. So if you're only interested in like certain parts of my videos, feel free to skip. And at the end, I will have like a minor life update for you. So I know not everybody's interested in that. So just stick that right at the end. So I like to start out with FFOs, my fully finished objects, and my FOs, finished objects. And I do have one FFO, but I don't have it here in my hands and I don't want to go get it. So I'm going to show you a picture of it because this picture looks better than it looks in real life, in my opinion. So this was my cake topper at my recent wedding. And I had stitched the Just Nan Romeo the groom mouse and Juliet the bride mouse. And I got these three little like circular 3D printed things from my brother, and I just glued them together, and then I used a double-sided sticky like fabric tape to stick the mice down on it because I didn't want them to be like permanently affixed there because I was like, what if I want them later? But this was my cake topper at my wedding, and I got so many people came up to me and they're like, oh my god, your cake topper is so cute. And I was like, thanks, I made it. And they were like, wait, what? And then they would run back and take a picture of it, which I thought was so funny. Because it's like the second you're like, oh, actually I made that, people are like 10 times more impressed. But those came in like basically a little, like they had all the beads with them and the pattern, you just had to buy the fabric. And I did buy the called for, which I wrote everything down this time. I don't know why. But it was a 32 count Silvery Moon linen by Zweigart. So I just used the called for, I did that, and they stitch up super fast. They're like itty bitty. And the finishing of the mice themselves, you might be intimidated, but honestly, it was incredibly easy. And I found quite a few videos of people finishing them. They were like different mice than the one that I was doing, but it's all the same concept. So if you have wanted to do a Just Nan project, but you've been intimidated by the finishing style, I would say don't be, because they're really small and it's an easy way to break into finishing something kind of new to you. But yeah, I thought this was such a cute little cake topper. I have it on a shelf out in my like living area. And the photographer took a couple pictures and hopefully I'm showing them to you now. But I just thought it looked so cute. And they looked great on, we had like a very traditional styled wedding cake. And every time I look at that picture, I'm like, dang, I just want some more cake. But I am so happy with the way they turned out, and I'm glad I got to incorporate cross stitch into my wedding day. And then I have two finished objects. So the first one is It's a Beautiful Day by Romy's Creations, and this is what it looks like. So this, I used all the called for flosses. I bought this I bought the pattern at StitchCon last year because I saw the finished model and I was like obsessed with it. And they had all the Romy's Creations flosses except for whatever the black was. So I just used the DMC alternative, which was 310. So that's the only one that I didn't use called for with. I just used the conversion. But if you buy this pattern, all these like little like applique things on here, they are charted as like cross stitch, but the finish that she had on display had like all these like kind of 3D elements, and I was like, I want to do that. And so last Friday I started this pattern, and on Saturday I finished it. That's how like quickly this stitched up, but also how like determined I was and how much fun I had with it. So I just, these are just strands of floss that I don't know if you guys will be able to, you can probably tell. They're like tacked down a little bit with like a single strand of floss. I got these buttons from, my grandma had just recently given me a giant box, like a cookie tin full of buttons. I was like, perfect, great. And I had just sorted them all by color, because what better way to spend your day than sorting 10,000 buttons by color. While I was at StitchCon, they had these pin sets from Puntini, and I was like, oh, those would look cute on this, and I was right. But I only bought one set, so I just had to grab some pins from my current like sewing stash, and these ones are like crazy long. I thought about replacing them and like just buying some like shorter pins, but when I posted this on Instagram, Romy's Creations, the designer, actually commented and was like, don't change them, they look good with the yellow. So I don't know. My favorite part of stitching this, I think, I really like doing this. This is just like a really long, like straight stitch over, so it looks like a bobbin. And then I loved making the little mini skein of floss here. And then this is actually like a piece of fabric that I cut off of just some other random fabric and then stitched them together. So like that, I don't know. This piece just makes me very happy, and I really, really like it. And one thing I really like about Romy's Creations, this has like nothing to do with much of anything, but the font that she uses on her patterns for like the titles and stuff is Chiller, which was my favorite font growing up in school. It's like a spooky font. So like to see this pattern with Chiller font on it just cracked me up. So that was my new start for last Friday, and because I finished it early, I was like, I have time to like throw in some more. So I started and finished this little, it's called O-Fish-Cially, I think, and it says O-Fish-Cially the best dad. It was in a recent, was it just Cross Stitch? It's one of the cross stitch magazines. Maybe it was Cross Stitcher. I don't remember. I really just truly don't. But it was in one of the cross stitch magazines. I always get them. I always go and look through them on like the Libby app because they're free there. And then if there's enough patterns in any given magazine that I want, I might buy the magazine. And I always buy the ornament magazines for just cross stitch. But I figured I would make this now, and then I'll be able to finish it into a card for when Father's Day comes around for my dad. And my dad, he's like a fish guy. Like, he lives on a lake. He has 2 boats. He fishes a lot. He has more fishing lures than is truly conceivable to the human mind. So I think he'll like it. So that leads me to new starts, which I am starting 1 new project a week for the entirety of 2025. I don't know why. I think Amity from the Hathaway Stitchers did this last year, and that's probably where I got the idea. I'm pretty sure that's what she was doing, was 1 a week, or at least 1 a week. And so I was like, that sounds like fun. I should do that. And now I'm doing it, and my God, has my whip pile gone up. So I think what's going to happen is next year will be the year of finishes. But I started, the first of the new starts since the last time I saw you was Solyanka, and this is by Owl Forest Embroidery. And here's what it will look like when it's done. When I saw this and I just saw like the meats hanging, I was like, I want to stitch a bunch of meat. Like, who doesn't? And I thought it was really cute. So I'm using the Owl Forest threads, and I got them on these cardinal floss drops that I had because it's like all I had lying around. But yeah, here's like the full color palette. These are the Owl Forest over dyes. I think they're the DMC. I think I typically tried to buy the DMC ones, but the Owl Forest, like the Russian brand over dyes, are like kind of cheaper. So I think I do have those ones for some of my Owl Forest projects. And I am stitching this on 40 count Blue Moon Even Weave by Bestitch Me 1/2. Here is where I've gotten to. So I got that big like ham hock thing and like a sausage and some of the little jars up there. And there's like, I think there's a couple of cats and stuff that will come later. But this one, I mean, each one of my new starts typically gets a maximum of 3 days because I started on Friday, work on it Saturday, Sunday, and then like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've dedicated to my Pokemon project. So they don't get like a ton of immediate dedicated stitching time, but I feel like I made pretty good progress for, you know, so far. I'm excited to get, there's like a big bowl of soup in the middle, because I think that's what Solyanka is like a, I'm probably not even saying it right, but I think it's like a big old bowl of soup. But really, I was just in it for all the little meats. So I'm excited to get back to this one someday. But I thought I didn't love stitching on 40 count because my Colors of Spring has been kind of annoying on the 40 count, but this one I really enjoyed on the 40 count. So I think maybe it's because it's not like this big solid block of stitching. There's more like shapes to it compared to like the Colors of Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter. So I'm not discounting fully 40 count yet, but I think 36 count / 18 count is probably my favorite. The next project I started was the Rolodex Morning Sampler, and this is by Bendy Stitchy. I am stitching this 1/1 on 28 count sand even weave from Picture This Plus. The reason I'm stitching this 1/1 is I wanted to use this fabric, but there wasn't enough to do it over 2. So here is where I'm at. I guess I could probably just fold this in half. And honestly, this 1/1 stitching is far easier than the other 1/1 project I'm working on right now, which I will show you later in WIPs. But it's so cute and itty bitty on this 28 count. If I do, or I guess when I do future 1/1 stitching, I will definitely be doing it on 28 count and not like 32 or 36 or whatever I'm doing the other one on. And when I first got this pattern, I didn't realize this was like a song lyric. It says, "No grave can hold my body down, I'll crawl home to her." But now I have realized that it is in fact a Hosier lyric, and I've been listening to that song nonstop. It's pretty good. I didn't think I would be a Hosier fan, but I am. And I have mostly called for, so this uses like a big, it uses DMC Gentle Arts, Classic Colorworks, and I think one color in cotton, but I can't find the color in cotton. I have all the other over dyes, but it's color in cotton Highlands, and I have searched for this, and I can't. I don't know if I'm just like dumb, which is probably the case, but I can't find it. I went to the Color and Cotton website, and they have 2 PDFs you can download, and one is like all their currently like they still dye these colors, and then the other list is like all their discontinued colors, and I looked on both lists, can't find Highlands. So I don't know if I'm just gonna have to use the DMC equivalent or if I'm just like totally blind. So if anybody's heard of that color, knows where to get it, let me know, because I am struggling. My next start, I actually started this on my honeymoon. There was no significance to it. That's what I did. And this is Ink Circles from their arrangement series. This is Arranging Pasta. And I didn't get very far. All the lighting in our hotel room was not like ideal for this. And, you know, we were busy having fun. We went to Universal Studios in Orlando. So we were busy. But I'm stitching this with all the called for over dyes. And I'm doing it on a 36 count linen, which I dyed myself, and I think this is the top. So you can see there's really just a little bit of pasta in there. There's like a thread hanging off too, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this when I'm done, but I just really like the arrangement series. I think they're really cute and fun, and they're pretty petite. They're pretty small, so I have quite a few of these in my stash that I'm waiting to stitch up. And I really like the color that I dyed this, so I felt like I did a pretty good job. The called for is 32 count Tuscan linen by Fiber on a Whim, but I just didn't feel like buying the fabric, I guess. I was like, I can just dye it, I'll figure it out. Then I started this project, which is very much not like a typical project that I would stitch. And this one is called Beloved, and it's by, I don't know this designer outside of this pattern. I'm sure everybody else does, but it's Running with Needles and Scissors. And I'm doing it on a 32 count even weave by Bestitch Me. I got it from a Friday night fight night. I keep wanting to call it Fright Night because of Amity from Hathaway Stitchers. But this one, it doesn't have a name. It just has a number. It's called 207. And it was this just like really pretty light gray. And I am only stitching the birds on this. I have no need for the alphabet, no desire to stitch all that sampler stuff, but I really liked the birds in the middle. So I'm working on those. I got pretty good progress. The eye on that bird is a bead. And let's see. There was something weird about this one. I can't remember. Oh, yeah. So this one it calls for DMC and anchor floss. There's four anchor flosses in this. It has a pretty hefty color palette, but I don't know if I'll use them all because, like I said, I'm not doing the whole border. I'm just doing those birds. But I don't own any. Well, I have like a couple anchor flosses that I got from an Advent, but I've never even seen anchor floss like in real life aside from that at a store. And so I just looked up a chart online and found like the DMC conversion, and I'm just going to use DMC for that. But yeah, I've never stitched anything in this style, which I heard Phoebe Moon say on her channel, Moonshine Stitchery, the other day. She referred to this style as like painterly, where it really does kind of blend together and look like a painting. And I really like the look of it. And I like the fabric that I chose. I got to pat myself on the back because I'm not really the best at knowing like what colors go together. So I usually have to ask other people, specifically my husband, Rob. I'm like, hey, did these colors go together? Yes or no? Because he's got a better eye for that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to get this and then maybe get like a very ornate frame to kind of go around, like a vintagey looking ornate frame to go around it. Oh, and the other thing too, I bought the paper pattern of this. It came in like a booklet, and it's like a color symbol chart, and this pattern, it goes across like multiple pages. So I won't show you the front of it, but like I had to like cut out all the pieces and then tape it together because my brain just wasn't like, I can't flip through a book and like realign it in my head. I need like the full pattern in one big piece or disaster will strike. I've got 2 more starts. So I started another owl forest, and this one is the houseplants Sal, and I don't have the threads. I didn't put them on floss drops this time. I put them on the floss, like they come with like little bobbins. So like whenever you buy owl forest threads, they come like this. They have the bobbin attached to it with this horrible twine, which I hate. And they're like wrapped up like this, and then you can just put them on the bobbin. So that's what I did with this one because I didn't have any more floss drops lying around. And this one I am stitching, oh, I got pretty far on this. I'm stitching it on 40 count avocado even weave by Bestitch Me, and I've gotten the first plant fully done. And then I got a good chunk of the second plant, and I was working on the pot. And I was worried about using the green because there is so much green in this pattern, but I think it actually makes it a lot nicer. I like the very greenery-esque look. And I really like, so all the like red in these 5 leaves here is the same floss, but you can see almost like 2 distinct colors there. Because like the owl forest overdyes some of them are really, really variegated. And again, this is just another one of those 40 counts where I was just like, oh, I actually can blast through 40 count stitching if it's not just one big block and there's like a little bit more going on. I don't know why that is. You'd think the block stitching would be easier, but it's like somehow just more annoying. And this is a free pattern on Owl Forest. So Owl Forest has some really killer free patterns. Like I would argue that nobody does free patterns quite like Owl Forest. And I think it's a great business model because not everybody's going to stitch it with the Owl Forest threads, but a lot of us are tempted because they look so beautiful. So a lot of the patterns that I've bought threads for were free patterns from Owl Forest because they're substantial patterns where you can really get a lot of use out of those threads. And so honestly, I think it's smart that they're releasing like really good high quality patterns that are on par with what they sell to kind of entice you in. I think that's smart. And my last new start was like 2 weeks ago because I finished the other new start. And this is Coffee and Eggs by the Artsy Housewife. When this first came out, I was like everybody else, I was like, oh, I love this. Everybody was like, oh, we have to stitch this. But then everybody was stitching it, and I was like, all right, I don't want to look at this. Like, when everybody's stitching something, I'm like, I know this sounds rude, but I'm like, damn, I am sick of looking at that. Like, everybody's showing it. I don't want to stitch it myself right now. So I bought the pattern, and I just kind of sat on it. And then I started a different Artsy Housewife pattern, and I realized how dense the Artsy Housewife patterns are. And so then that kind of put me off it a little bit longer, but I put it on my list of starts. So I'm stitching this on 36 count doubloon linen from Picture This Plus, and I'm using DMC. I think it calls for like a bunch of overdyes. Yeah, so it calls for Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, and Weeks, and I just didn't want to buy that many flosses because, like I said, dense, so I was probably going to need a lot. So I'm just using her DMC conversion that she provided, and I am not super far. I just got the rainbow done. And so I started with a leaf, and at first I was like, those two greens, like, I just feel like that's not right. But then as I got like everything in, I got the rainbow in, I like decided to trust the process, and I was like, okay, all right, I can handle that. So that's where I'm at. This is nice block stitching. I think this would be a good one to bring to a retreat because it's really big swatches of color. Compared to the other Artsy Housewife that I'm doing, which is, I guess it is also kind of big swatches of color, but it just doesn't feel that way, which I'm going to talk about that one next, so you'll see why. But yeah, I just think that one's cute, and now that not everybody's showing it 9 times the Flosstube, I feel like I can do it and not get annoyed with it. Okay, so now we're on to my actual whips. So the first whip I have is Beach Rat. This is the other Artsy Housewife that I have kind of going right now. And this one was started as a sal at last year's StitchCon, and everybody who started together, we decided, I guess, to finish it together at StitchCon this year. So we've all been kind of rushing to get to the point where we can finish it at StitchCon in like 40 days. So here is the last time you saw it, and I'm stitching mine on a 32 count Darling David linen by those missing stitches, and I'm stitching this 1/1. Why? I don't know. This was my first ever like, oh, I'm going to stitch 1/1, and I decided to start with 32 count and linen, which are two things I would not suggest. I would say even weave is easier to do this kind of stitching on, and also maybe not 32 count. But on Wednesday, when I was at work, I got it to the point where I have, I think, 170 stitches left to go, and that's where I'm going to leave it for StitchCon. I just have one color left to fill in, and here we are. So you can see there's some like kind of empty spots in the feet and like up the legs. That's going to be like a yellowy kind of gold color, and then it will be done. And I will not have to stitch 1/1 on linen again. From here, I think it looks really good. I think it looks cute. If you get a little close, stitches look a little bumpy, a little rough, which I was like, am I just bad at 1/1? But when I was doing it on 28, I felt like everything looks good. So I think it was just a combination of first time, linen, 1/1 all together. Did I say the name of this? This is Beach Rat. I don't know if I said that. Probably I did. But there's two versions of this pattern. There's this one that doesn't have text, and there's the other version that says Beach Rat on it really big, which adds a lot of stitches. Can you believe that this right here, this smaller than my hand, is over 5,000 stitches? Can you believe that? That's crazy. I want to find a little frame for this guy when it's done, but I'm excited to have it finished. I think it looks really cute. I love birds. I'm not a beach goer, which is why I decided not to stitch the words Beach Rat on there. But this was like a free piece of linen that the people who dyed it, I think, were just like giving out at StitchCon, and I was like, well, I'll start it on that, and I did, and it's cute. I like it. I can't believe it's only got 170 stitches left, and I have to wait over a month to finish it. So yeah, I am antsy to get that finished. And I will not be participating in sals that are that dense going forward. or at least not impromptu sales. Next, I put a ton of work into Pokemon because last month I had 2 WIPCO calls for this project, and unfortunately that totaled out to 8,000 stitches in a month, and I did 8,700. So this is Pokemon Generation 1, like the epic pattern by Lord Libidin. I'm setting myself up to be able to finish it next year, and by setting myself up, I'm forcing myself to do 860 stitches minimum a week. So that's why I set aside Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And if, like, usually I can finish it by Tuesday, but there are some nights where I got other things going on. So I always set aside those 3 days for this. And then if I finish it by Tuesday, I can either keep going on Wednesday, just kind of bumping up that finish date a little bit more each time, or I can just stitch on whatever I want on Wednesday. Like, that's kind of my rule right now. I did just get to the point where I was able to move the frame, so I did post on Instagram. You could see the whole thing there. But like I said, I put in over 8,000 stitches last month, and I've gotten to the point where the way I set it up, 860 a week, would have put me at a finish the last week of 2026. I have put in so much into this that I will now be finishing in October of 2026. So let's hope I can keep chugging along and moving it up. But here is where I'm at now. I shifted the frame over, and you can see because I had so many stitches to do in the month, this was like so much fabric, I really just shot for like the big blocks of color, and then once I hit my goal of the 8,000, then I came up here and I started filling in some of like the ones that are like, there's like 5 stitches of this color over here, and I just didn't want to be dealing with like breaking a lot of threads because that adds time, you know. So while I was getting those 8,000 stitches, I mostly did like color block stuff, but then once I hit that, I started kind of filling in some of the more details here. Not too much to say about this. It's just on 18 count Ada. It's the only full coverage I have going right now. The fabric is so filthy for some reason, and it came like this. It came packaged filthy, and I don't know why. And no matter how much I washed it, I couldn't get it out, but I was like, well, it's full coverage, so I'll just stitch over the dirt. That's not gross. The back looks insane. Yeah, that's that. That's really, just gonna keep showing you this till it's done. I took the Quacker sampler by Star Parade Designs on my honeymoon as well, because I was like, oh, this is my second oldest whip. My first oldest whip is Pokemon. So I was like, I need to knock out some of these older whips. And so I took this, and again, the hotel room was not conducive for stitching, just the lighting was bad. I should have brought my little light, but I didn't. This is stitched in the called for. What is this? Gentle Arts linen. So it's just like a monochromatic, and I'm stitching it on the called for, linen, which is 32 count blue spruce by Zweigart. And I gotta tell you, I hate this linen with a passion. It is a really loose weave, so there's like these weird spots where sometimes like the threads get a little bit like maybe I can show you right here. You can see like there's like that big gaping hole, and you can like fix it by like fiddling with it a little bit, but it is just like really weird and annoying. And it's just not easy to see. I thought like stitching on black was hard, but like this color, it just looks so flat that it's hard for me to like look at sometimes. I don't know how to explain it. But I want the finished piece, so I'm persevering. And this, I messed up. You're supposed to do 2/2, but I did 1/2 because I wasn't thinking. And then by the time I realized, I was already like way too far. The light from my window is like too much. But I'm almost to the bottom. There's a little bit more, but I did finish this one motif that has been taking me forever, which is this little like triangle spot right here. So I finished that the other day, and then I put in this little feather. I put in this snowflake looking thing, which I don't know what that has to do with ducks. And then I started this big center motif. It's like the biggest motif in the whole one, I think. But I think it's so funny because it's a Quaker, but it's Quacker because they're ducks. And I'm most excited at the very bottom. There's a little rubber duck that is included, and I want to stitch that. Somebody recommended me to stitch it in yellow, and I thought it would be kind of cute, but I do like the monochromatic vibe of the whole thing, so I think I'm just going to keep it, you know, with linen. And the other thing, too, that is annoying to me is that because it was 2/2, it was supposed to be 2/2, I bought the recommended amount of threads, but then I'm stitching it 1/2, so I literally just got double the amount of linen, so I won't be running out of gentle linen for quite a while. Next, I worked on Piero Biscornu by Rowan & Rose Designs, just because I wanted something easy at work to kind of like do some like fill-in type stuff. This is very like blocky colored pattern. I bought this, and then there's like a Jester one that I'm going to start later in the year, and I'm stitching this on 18 count Lagoon Ada by, is this picture this plus? No, it's Fiber on a Whim. I don't know my dyers. And I'm not like obsessed with this Ada, just the color. It's just not something that to me, it's like almost white, so it just is kind of dull, but it suited this pattern well enough, so I just decided to use up what I had left. And here is where I'm at. So I'm almost done with this side of the Biscornu. I just have, there's like a few little like harlequin guys. Yeah, a few little harlequin guys and then some red that I need to go and fill in there. But this is like, it's like a 4-color design, and it fits like perfectly in one of my nerd hoops, and it's just kind of mindless stitching, so I can get quite a lot done. I am obsessed with Biscornus right now. I have one finished, but not fully finished, and I have a feeling that if I don't force myself to fully finish it soon, it's just going to sit there and not be fully finished. I just want a bunch of Biscornus. I don't know why. I just think they're cute, and I like buttons, so buying fun buttons for them is like appealing to me. But once I finish that's technically the bottom, then I will do the top, and then later this year I will start the other one. And then I have been diligently chipping away at Colors of Spring, which my goal is to do 1 square a day when I'm in office at work, because it's fairly simple. It is stitched on 40 count April Showers even weave by Bestitch Me, so like 40 count isn't always like the easiest in the office, but because these are like color blocks for the most part, it's not too bad. And so I've got all 4 in this series going. Well, there's technically like 6 or 7 now, but I'm just going to do spring, summer, fall, and winter. And I made changes to all the patterns because this is classic British Colors of Spring, and I'm not British, so like some of the stuff doesn't apply. So since the last time, I can't remember what you guys saw last, but it's still in the nerd hoop. But I added in some more of the back stitching here. So here is the full scope of it. This is painted eggs and mini eggs, which I didn't get any Easter candy this year because I'm trying to lose some weight and be healthier, and man, do I want some peeps right now. And then we've got eggshell. This one is bud green. This one was a hot cross bun. I changed it to a punchki. So like this is like a Polish donut that is like really popular in the area where I live. I don't think that they're popular all over the US, but like Michigan has a pretty decent Polish population. So punchkis are like very common for Fat Tuesday. So I threw one of those in that I designed myself, and like the little white is supposed to be like the powdered sugar all over it. This one needs some back stitching still, but this is supposed to be tadpoles. And then this is pollen. This one is rainbow, obviously, pink gingham, which I don't like that word, gingham. And then this one will be lambing season. I just have to finish filling in the little lambs and give them little backstitch legs. But I'm over halfway done because there's 30 squares, so I've got almost 18 finished. I just, like I said, backstitch and then like some minimal stitching here. So not too much further with this one, and then I will transition right into the summer one, and I will just keep doing these 1 block a day at work until I have all 4 of them done, and then I will finish them into an interchangeable display. And then I have one last project that I worked on in Whips, and I only worked on it 1 day so far. That was just yesterday, but I put like 700 stitches into it. So, and this is the Nostalgic Tarot by the Witchy Stitcher. This one is, a beast because it's like, I really want to get it done. It's still an ongoing release. So like if you're part of her Patreon, is it like every other month there's like 2 cards dropped or something? I don't know. I'm not even to the cards yet. I'm still working on the frame. So I'm working on the frame of this, which the frame is free on her website. And I thought it would be so funny, hilarious to stitch this on 14 count black Aida, because who doesn't want the biggest pattern in the freaking world, right? So I did that, and the fabric management has not been my favorite, and it's like a really stiff black fabric, so it's like even worse. But I think I'm finally getting it under control, and so here, if I can get all the, you see what I mean? Like, look at all this dang fabric. If I cut it down, my life would be a lot easier, but am I gonna do that? No. So here's what I did yesterday. I came over, I finished this rainbow because it wasn't done. I added all this little like spindly bits here, and then I put in the T, and then like literally, okay, I got like 20 minutes into stitching this, and I was like, I feel like that episode of SpongeBob where he has to write that essay, and he spends like forever, and he's like, and some of these, and some of these, and then he's like, all right, let's see where we're at, and he holds the paper back, and all he's written is the. And like 20 minutes into it, that's what I was thinking. And so I was like, oh, Tara's gonna find that hilarious. So I wanted to get this done so I could send her a picture of just the T and then the gif of SpongeBob doing that. And I was like, I feel like such a loser because like I thought of this joke 2 hours ago and I've just been dying to send it to you. But that's how I felt. And my WhipGo board got me with this one. So 3,000 stitches for the month is what I need. I did 700 last night, so that's good. But as I got into it, I realized one of the reasons why I was struggling to stitch on this, aside from this part, is I guess I was always like taught like you use a size 24 needle with 14 count. You use a size 16 needle. No. You use a size 24 needle with 14 count, a size 26 needle with 16 count, and a size 28 needle with 18 count and higher. Like, and that's just how it is, and that's how you do it. I hate size 24 needles. Like, they feel so clunky in my hand, and like my thread kept slipping out of the eye, and I was just getting mad. And I was like, my favorite size needle is a 28. And so I was like, let me just try 28. And it was fine. Like nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. So I don't know what, like I was able to go a lot faster. And like sometimes I get it because the needles won't like stay in the hole very well, but this is fairly tight Aida. So like I didn't have any trouble with this. But now that I've got this in this big, like this is like the biggest nerd hoop that they offer that I'm aware of, and I've been stitching it in my Lowry. I was able to blast through over 700 stitches last night, no problem. So I think once I get the tarot part done, like the word tarot at the top, I'm gonna start in on some of the cards, and then I'll just continue the border as I go, as it comes up near one of the cards, so that way it's more fun, because the problem is the border itself is, you know, it's just like a single, or it's like a double lined white line. You can stitch that pretty fast, and then you have to move the hoop over and over and over again. And moving the hoop with this much fabric is not fun. It's really annoying. So I think once I finish the word tarot, I will just start working on the cards, and I will enjoy that more. So you'll see this a couple more times in upcoming floss tubes at least. So that were all my whips. That was everything. So now I don't have any haul. I did place a really big 1, 2, 3 stitch order to kit up everything else for the rest of this year, but that's just like fabric and a bunch of random flosses, and that's supposed to arrive tomorrow. So it's not really that exciting. It's just a pile of fabric and flosses. I don't know. But I really haven't bought anything that I can think of. So no haul, but I do have plans. So my first plan is I'm going to start my StitchCon small, because StitchCon is 40 days away, which, you know, that's a lot of time, but you keep telling yourself, oh, I have time, and then you don't have any time. So I'm going to start that. I've already got everything that I want, I think, for the bag and everything. So it's going to be a weird one. So hopefully nobody gets it and hates it, but it's going to be fun. I can't wait to show you guys. Today my start of the week is going to be the Monopoly pattern, which I put the pattern in my pattern folio. So I will just post a picture up here, but Monopoly is like one of my favorite board games. My husband is like, why? Because he has no attention span, because he has ADHD really bad and he does not want to be medicated, which is fine. I respect that. Don't take the medicine if you don't want to, but also he can't focus on any kind of game like that. And growing up, I used to play with my siblings and my dad a ton. So I just really love Monopoly. And it's so funny because my sister's fiance is also like same attention span as Rob. And we tried to play Monopoly with the two of them. And me and my sister were just constantly like yelling at them, like, it's your turn. It's your turn. Just go. It's your turn. But I thought it'd be cool to make this Monopoly board and then maybe figure out, like, my uncle, he's really good at woodworking. So maybe I could commission him to make a piece that I can inlay it in and like lay some glass over it. And then I could either buy some pieces or I could make the pieces myself, depending. My little brother has gotten into like metalworking, so maybe I could get him to make some unique pieces for me for the board as well. So like, I think it would be really cool to create this Monopoly game that has little bits of the people in my family who are creative, who made these parts. Obviously, I'm a long way off because I'm just starting it today. But yesterday, I did dye some fabric for it because I couldn't find a big enough piece of fabric that was in the right color that I wanted, that was in the correct count as well. Because this, if you want it to be an actual true to life size Monopoly board, it's 18 count or, 36 count. And it needs to be, like, the board itself is like 18 inches by 18 inches. And then you need, obviously, the buffer fabric. So I ended up just buying a big old chunk of white 18 count Aida. And then I went on the RIT website, and RIT has like, you can see like color swatches of everything. And then it will tell you the exact recipe you need to get that color. So I went through and I picked out the color swatch that I was like, that looks good for me for what I want. And then of course it's like the one RIT dye I don't have. So I had to run on my lunch break to go grab some RIT dye. And then I came home and I immediately dyed my fabric, and I knew this was going to happen. It doesn't look, it kind of matches, but it's like it almost looks too Tiffany. Mine pulls a little bit more like aqua green in real life. I don't know how to get that to show. Lighting and color theory and all that is not my strong suit. But so I was like, okay, it's got to be 18 by 18, but then I think 26 by 26, just to give myself a really big buffer, just because I was nervous. And also, the piece of fabric I bought was like huge. Like, there's so much fabric left. So, but this was the first shot I took at dyeing it, and I was like, all right, that's good enough for me. I like it. So I'm excited to start that tonight. It is like a paper pattern, so I had to make copies. It's like in a booklet. And again, like those booklets are so hard for me. So I got to like print them out and then cut them out and then tape them back together. So I'm excited to get started on that. And then next weekend's new start will be The Cats Have Arrived by Owl Forest Embroidery. And I picked that one. I think that one's a free one too, but I bought the threads for it. And I picked that one because my husband is obsessed with cats. Like, he literally sends me videos and pictures of cats all day, every day. And he's like, look at this beautiful cat. Look at this beautiful cat. And he won't call kittens because of like the whole like Discord association with the word kitten. He doesn't like to use it. Don't ask. If you don't know, don't worry about it. But so he calls them baby cats. And he's like, look at this baby cat. And I'm like, you're like the gruffest man I know. How did the cats get you? But here's the thing. He's severely allergic to cats. His whole head swells up. It's horrible because he still will touch every cat that he comes near and like put his face in them and be like, oh, you're such a beautiful cat. And so then I have to deal with him with a giant head for like 3 days and he can't breathe. And I'm like, you're going to die from this one day. And I'm not going to feel sorry for you. But that's why I'm stitching this one. So I can give it to him and be like, here is a bunch of cats for you, because the pattern is just like tons of cats. It's really cute. Also, the name of it, The Cats Have Arrived. I just sound so formal. Like, I don't know, it's just funny to me. I will also continue putting in work on the Nostalgic Tarot. Even if I hit 3,000 stitches on that, I'll probably keep going. If I hit 3,000 before the month ends, I'll probably just keep working it in here and there, because I really do enjoy that project. I love the colors in it. It's very fun, you know, super Lisa Frank, obviously. And then I also will continue working on Colors of Spring while I'm at work, 1 block a day minimum, and hopefully get that done by the end of spring so that I can finish summer by the end of summer, and so on and so forth. And yeah, those are all my like hard, fast plans so far. So that is it for stitching. I'm going to just give you guys a quick life update for those of you who are interested. But if not, I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. But for those of you who are sticking around, I mentioned a couple times, but I did get married in March. It's May now. Whoops. I got married on March 1st and on March 22nd, which confuses a lot of people, but we had a separate religious ceremony because Rob is Catholic. And when we booked our wedding venue, I'm lapsed. So like, I just haven't thought about this in like 15 years, but you can't get married during Lent, and we booked our wedding like in the middle of Lent. So oops. And Rob, you know what? I'm done. I keep being like, oh, that's my fault. Rob should have known. It's his religion. He should have figured it out. But he didn't. So we had to get married like literally like two days before Lent started. And it was family only. So it was my parents, my siblings and their partners, and then his parents came, and that was it. And it was okay. It was the priest did not like me, which I get. You know, I left the church, so like I get it. Like I can't expect the Catholic priest to be like real excited to be marrying a lapsed Catholic. Whatever, it happened. We got it out of the way. We did it. I shouldn't say we got it out of the way, because it is important to Rob, you know, it is a sacrament, but I was obviously the one looking forward to, well, we were both looking forward to, but I was really looking forward to what I keep calling the big wedding, which was on March 22nd, and that was the one where we invited all our friends and our family, like our extended family, and so we had people come from all over. Rob's uncle came from Korea, and I think a couple other people came from Korea as well. His parents came from Las Vegas. My uncle and aunt and cousins came from California. One of my best friends, Stacy, who I met through YouTube on my nail polish channel, she came out from California. I had some friends who flew in from the East Coast. My friend Tara from Wildewoman Crafts, I awkwardly invited her at the last minute. I was like, hey, this might be weird and you can say no, because I know it's last minute, and also we haven't even known each other a full year, but would you like to come to my wedding? And she did come. So I felt like I wanted to invite like all my internet friends, but I didn't want to like overstep, because it's like, maybe that's weird to like ask people to come to your wedding when you've barely known them for a year. But at the same time, I felt such a strong connection with these people that I was just like, I should invite them. But now I'm like, I wish I had invited more of them, and there was more that I wanted to invite. But again, I just was like, this is gonna be weird and they're gonna think I'm crazy. But Tara is like the same level of crazy overthinker as me, so I was like, hey, this is weird and I know it's weird, but can I send you an invite and you can just say no if you want to. But she came and she wore a really cool like embroidered dress, so I thought that was cool. And just people from all over. And my parents and like a lot of my family were like, oh my god, your friends are so cool. And I was like, yeah, I know that, like you don't have to act like it's shocking that I have friends. But we had like the big classic 3-tier wedding cake, which I showed you earlier in the video. I felt beautiful in my dress. My dad walked me down the aisle, that's like the picture in the background of my phone because I just love it so much. I haven't gotten all my pictures back, just a sneak peek. And I can't show you like anything with like some of my family in it that is not comfortable being seen online. And Rob does not like his face shown online. So I'll show you, like, there's like somewhere his face isn't really in it, and he gave me permission. But I just had the most magnificent day. I thought my wedding was something that I was going to have to like force myself to get through because it's like a big social event, and sometimes you're just like not in the mood for that, you know? It's a lot, but like the time went so fast. I couldn't believe how much fun it was, and we had so much good food, and everybody was just so complimentary, and everything just turned out perfect, and I could not ask for a better day. Wish it was cheaper. Really wish that was cheaper. It was a very expensive party. Weddings are crazy. But I'm so glad we did it, and we were both really, really happy. And then the next day we went home, we packed, and then the day after that we went down to Universal in Orlando for like a full week. We stayed at, I can't remember the name of it now. It's like one of the nicer resorts that looks like a little Italian place, which was really nice. And they had, if you stayed in like one of the nicer rooms, which we ended up booking, Costco travel agency, highly recommend. Like, you got access to this room that would give you like snacks 5 times a day, but then they always had like a fridge with like filled with free drinks. And Rob is such a goblin. He would like go in there and he would grab like as many Coke Zeros as he could fit in his arms and then like run back up to the room. And we went swimming and we just ate a bunch of good food, and I got to meet Shrek, which was a highlight of the trip. We spent too much money, we had too much fun, we both got sunburnt, which I felt really happy about, which let me frame why. Because Rob, our whole lives together, we've been together for almost 12 years now, and he won't wear sunscreen because he says he's not white, so he can't get sunburnt. And I was like, that's patently false, but okay. And then he finally got sunburnt, and he barely got sunburnt, right? Like, it was nothing compared to what my pasty ass is constantly dealing with. And barely sunburnt, whining the whole time. Just like, oh, it hurts. Oh, I'm peeling. Oh, I look so old because I'm peeling. I was like, that's what you get. That's what you get. And so now he's like, I'm wearing sunscreen with you every single time. And I was like, good, thank you. Now you understand. And then we came home and we spent a couple more days together. Like, we took 2 or 3 extra days off from work just so we could come home and like chill out from just the bundle of events that had happened. And we just had a really wonderful time. And then unfortunately, the next week, I think it was the next week, my granddad passed away. And so that sucked. But he had leukemia for over 10 years and he was suffering. And so I am sad, but like, I'm glad he's not suffering anymore. But there was just a whole big mess of family stuff and sorting through his things and getting affairs in order. And so that's why there's been so much time between like Flosstubes and me being online and stuff. But my granddad, he was a really, really wonderful man. He was like just this tiny little guy. He talked like very classic East Coaster. He kind of sounded like a cartoon character. He'd always be like, oh, honey. Every Sunday when I was a kid, we would go over there for Sunday dinner, and he would save the comics from the newspaper for me because he knew I liked them, and he'd be like, don't read all the funnies out of my funny papers. And he taught me how to tie my shoes. He was just it's hard pressed to find somebody that I could not say a negative thing about. I love being negative. I love talking crap. It's just my nature. I know it's not a positive trait, but I just know that about myself. But he's one of the few people that I could not say a bad word about because he just was always such a genuine person. And so it has been hard to like realize like the next time I go to my grandma's, he's not going to be there, you know? So it's been tough. The first week was the hardest, but I'm lucky to have had my grandparents I'm 32, you know, I still have one living grandparent left, my grandmother, but I've been very lucky and very blessed to have them for this long. So I'm just glad that he's no longer in a bad way. And now I can hear the ice cream truck. He would have loved that. He loved candy and sweets. So yeah, I guess that's the life update. I don't usually do them, but I felt like those were two really big life events that I wanted to acknowledge. So yeah, I'm married. I need to legally change my last name because I just haven't even started that process. And my work changed it on my insurance, and I just feel like that was a bad move because I haven't legally changed it. So now my ID doesn't match my insurance card. So don't know what I'm going to do with that. But yeah, anyways, that is the video. So I will see you guys in hopefully 2 weeks. And I'm trying to get the couch cleaned off so that I can go back to filming over there and not have all this like nail polish stuff behind me, because this is not relevant to this channel. It's only relevant to my other channel. But yeah, hopefully by next time my couch will be clean. Until then, enjoy your stitching, and I hope you guys are having some nice weather where you're at, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.